Anybody have any additions or corrections to the agenda? No? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second?
My one job.
Who was one and two?
I'm sorry?
Who was first and second? John was second.
Arlene was first, John was second.
1, 2. Thank you.
Public invited to be heard. Is there anybody here? No. Okay. Approval of previous month's minutes. There is one correction I noticed. Let me bring it up. It had Phil Greenwald's name again wrong.
Yeah.
So his name is Phil.
Phil, not
I think you
John.
put Tim.
It kind of looks like it's Phil. We put that in again as. Did I switch them around? When
No,
I put,
the first time you put John and then you put a correction in the next minutes. It said you were correcting it to Tim, but it's actually Phil.
Yeah. I noticed that, but I was gonna just
Let it slide. Anybody else have any additions or corrections to last month's minutes? Okay. Can I get an approval of last month's minutes, please? A motion to approve.
Motion to approve last month's minutes.
John made the motion.
Second. Take Eric.
Eric, second. New business. Review of 2024 board accomplishments and 2025 board goals. Okay. Did everybody get a chance to read the 2024 senior Citizens Advisory Board accomplishments? Made a visual presentation to the city manager and city council regarding the community needs for seniors, focused on transportation, housing, and staffing needs of LSC. Wrote and sent several letters to state senators and representatives regarding senior issues such as housing and funding Boulder County Agency on Aging. Engaged in a presentation by Councilwoman Martin regarding how city governance works and how policies and ordinances are formed. Continued to monitor developments in housing, transportation, and other issues such as sustainability. Began study of food insecurity among seniors and other groups with the intent of increasing food availability for those populations. Made a presentation to City Council outlining community needs and recommendations, or make. So that's a plan for 2024, was to make a presentation. We participated in the El Comité Health Fair, and the Assistant City Manager made a presentation to the board regarding the state legislative process. Supported purchases of 2 new vans by motion and forwarded same to Friends Board. Human Services Director Pacheco presented the behavioral health system as it impacts seniors in Longmont and Boulder County, and attempted to increase coordination and cooperation with the Friends Board. So is there anything anybody wants to bring up? Do you want to discuss anything? Do you want to add anything?
Well, besides the participated in the El Comité Health Fair, we did that other, what is that Hispanic one?
Cinco de Mayo?
Cinco de Mayo. We did that as well, correct?
So,
You're right.
Yeah, so I think that might,
Yeah, I forgot
you
that
might want to
one.
put that in there.
Okay. And we're going to have a little brief on that today, too.
I've got a question on
Sure.
the presentation that Councilwoman Martin did on governance and policies for the bullet. Is that an annual thing they do, or was that a one-off?
Third bullet?
No.
Number 3.
On the 24 accomplishments?
I
This is out of
believe-
curiosity.
Yeah.
The board requested that from her. So she
It was
gave it to her.
very good.
It was good, yeah.
Very informative.
Yeah.
It might be a good thing to do again, depending,
Yes.
when we find out who it is that is going to be our liaison.
I think that's the first time we've done that.
Phil, what's his name?
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
Councilmember Pumpkin is the, right.
Hopkins, yeah.
And then November there'll be elections again.
And if that's what we
And-
would like from him, we could make that request to have him attend.
You have a meeting with him Monday, right?
Yeah. So if this is something the board would like us to do, then I can make that request.
And,
Why don't we put that for future
yeah, for future, because I think
meetings?
he
Because
needs to get his feet under him a little bit with the council too.
and there might be other things that we're already planning on the next meeting or 2 meetings coming up that
May, June, July.
we'll see first. Yep.
This would be a good time to bring it up. I was going to bring it up later, but I had a call last night from Sandy Cedar, the deputy city manager, and she said, "You want me to come tomorrow?" And I said, "Oh, really?" And I'd totally forgotten about it. Anyway, if you recall, she made a presentation on some of the pending legislation, and we were going to have her back after the legislative session. And she said, "Well, I got it on my calendar. Do you want me to come?" And so I said, "Well, I'll ask the group about putting it on next month's agenda." And she said she'd be delighted to do that. So I'm just wondering if that could be maybe folded in to one and the same presentation that somebody, the city council member or the deputy or whoever,
You mean have them both?
have everybody together.
Okay.
I mean, one presentation, I guess, on the whole process, including what was accomplished in the legislative session.
Is there a timeliness to having her speak? Does she need to speak to us about something that's coming up?
I don't
or
think
is that something we
I
could
don't-
kind of put for the next?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she'd be willing to come more than once. She seems more than willing, so maybe we could have her once to report, what's happened, and then maybe closer to next fall, have her come again, or somebody.
I think she'd be open to doing that. There were some bills that she brought forward to council the last 2 times that they met that had a link to housing. And so I think the one last night, council decided not to take a position on, but there are bills that are coming up relevant to housing.
Yeah, the construction defect laws.
Yes, that was it. Mhm.
How would it be something we could do in like June or July?
The legislature would be on break, right, in June, July for summer?
I believe so.
Yeah. So she could definitely do an update, but as far as getting feedback for bills, that would have to happen before July.
Yeah.
If this board wanted to give feedback about the city taking a position either way. So it's up to you all what you want to.
Say we took a position and it went back to the city.
Mhm.
They've already decided not to take a position, right? Would that
Well,
change
for that
at all?
particular one,
Right.
I don't know. I don't have the list of what she's tracking so far.
Okay.
But if you wanted to have the city council take an official position on any of the bills coming up this year, you'd have to do it before June, before they go on break.
And when would be our last time to do it? May meeting?
Probably May.
Okay.
Probably May.
Can we put that on our list and we can find out as we
Yeah,
go
we can
through the
check
rest
with
of the
Sandy to
meeting
make
and
sure,
find
yeah.
out what we actually have coming up and if anything can be moved around a little or
Yeah,
anything?
we can, Ronnie, if you want to email her and ask her, is there any bills that you think you want some feedback from advisory board or you think they might want to give some feedback? I think she'd be open to coming next month too.
Sure sounded like
Yeah,
it.
that's what, yeah.
That sounds like a good way to look at it for now.
Do we need a motion?
Hang on one second. I'm sorry, I'm fixing something on my thing.
Or do we just put it under future agenda?
Yeah, we can just put it under future agenda. Okay?
So do you want
Is
Sandy to come next time?
That's what we're going to look at once we go through
Okay.
this whole thing.
All right.
Okay. Anybody else have any other corrections to make, or think any questions about it, or anything that we did in 2024? I added Cinco de Mayo participation. Anything else? Okay, we don't really have to have a motion to accept this, right? It's just information on ours. Okay.
Well, this goes in your annual report,
Yeah,
which goes to the city council.
yeah. So we'll go over the new goals as well. And once we know what those goals are for 2025, then I can put them into that report that we'll copy into.
Okay. Did you add Cinco de Mayo?
I will, yeah.
All right. Final draft of the new goals for 2025. Recognition by the Longmont City Council that food insecurity be acknowledged and included as a core value and supported accordingly. Develop a robust, sustained senior outreach program to support Latinos and other diverse populations.
This is nitpicking, but I got a one-word correction. I would rather have rather than diverse, I'd rather put underrepresented populations. Because diverse is, well, I don't know what diverse is exactly, but
Well, it's
underrepresented populations.
It's part of DEI.
It's part of DEI, I'm all for it.
You're a representative of underserved
I'm sorry?
or underserved population.
Yeah,
Either one,
that's
That's what happens.
underrepresented and underserved.
That's the result.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Anybody else have anything so far?
Well, going back to one, which it is food insecurity, but what the city has tried to tell us when we've met with them is they would prefer that we call it food access. So can we do food insecurity / access?
We can
Yeah.
just put food access. Would that be all right? Take insecurity out completely?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought we were changing the word to food security.
It does say somewhere in a report,
Yeah.
somebody's report, that they were changing it to food security.
Right, I read that too.
But I even,
Meeting with community food share rate.
okay,
That was a result.
They wanted the stigma away from like
Exactly.
insecurity.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
wanted it to be.
And
I can
access
see
is
getting away from that
Food
word.
security and access.
Can they even get to a store?
Right.
Security and access, right.
I think security access
John's
is more of what we're
presentation
looking
says food
for.
security.
Yeah, yeah.
So which are we going with, access or?
Yeah.
Food security.
Well,
In lines with John's
right?
I think you
presentation.
do both, because access is, can you even get to a store?
Right.
Let's do both.
Yeah.
I think
Okay, so
it's
we'll
all
put
inclusive.
security and access?
Sure.
Okay,
Both words?
I guess so, right?
Yeah.
Okay, number 3, investigate additional Longmont Senior Center outreach through existing city services and departments. Research, construct, and engage in options available for seniors seeking employment. Okay. Establish a once-a-month food table at the senior center supported by Longmont community volunteer organizations. Promote and support existing and shared goals within the City of Longmont Human Services Department. Initiate, go ahead.
I have a suggestion that you all might want to consider in the spirit of kind of what this board does in the advisory capacity. You may want to put language in there that talks about investigate and provide recommendations on, you know, things like outreach, things like, you know, research, and it's about really providing those recommendations to staff to operationalize. I don't know if you want to consider that kind of language in these, but that might be something to think about.
Where would that be?
So I'm
Pretty
just,
much in a couple of different ones.
in a couple of different places. So investigate additional Longmont Senior Center outreach. So investigating additional Longmont Senior Center outreach through existing services and departments, and provide recommendations to operationalize to staff. That might be something that you want to start to move forward in some of these. So, you know, your job is to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on with seniors, and then really provide those recommendations to Ronnie so that he can operationalize that with the staff. Does that
Yeah,
does
it
that
makes
resonate?
sense. So it would pretty much be at the end of every single goal.
No, not everyone. I think in a couple of them where they're kind of action items,
Okay.
and then you all provide that recommendation. So, you know, you saw the need through the food security and access work to have a food table here at the senior center, and so how did you provide those recommendations and those connections through the community to make that happen?
I'm wondering if we
Did you have a
could
I
do.
don't know if we did.
I'm sorry, I
No,
interrupted.
go ahead.
I'm wondering if we could do one sentence at the top that says that,
That would be a good idea.
and then these are all the things that we're going to be making recommendations.
That's a really good idea. Yeah.
Well, if you had 2025 new goals, commitments, and recommendations, maybe, I don't know.
But this would make it even
Kind of a
clearer
word
that
at the top.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's-
right
Our
there.
role is to blah, blah, blah.
provide recommendations
Right.
regarding operations. To the city council, or to the manager, or both, or anybody?
Well, I think you're an advisory. It's kind of both and,
Yeah.
right? So it's really providing that recommendation to Ronnie through this work here, and then for those bigger things that, you know, policy wide, that it comes. There's a policy decision that needs to be made. That really is council. And then programmatically, those recommendations really come to Ronnie. So policy, council, programmatic, Ronnie. And your role is to kind of have your finger on the pulse of what's going on and make recommendations in each of those areas.
okay. Can you write something
Yeah.
that would include that?
Yeah, we can look at reframing that.
Perfect. Human services, I said, right?
Yes.
Okay. Initiate specific outreach via Go Magazine advertising for peer support and other supported services. Move forward on proposals for upgrading audio-visual capabilities at Longmont Senior Center.
What is that?
Tech support, new
Yeah.
tech. You know, when
They
you had a
upgrade all
chance-
this stuff?
Right.
Yep.
You had a chance to see a presentation last month in this room. I don't know if you noticed how blurry
Yeah.
the picture was. It's not a focus issue. This technology is on its way out. And you know, where do we want to invest in new technology? Is it replacing something like this, where it is a dying technology, or use that money towards newer technology, something that's more sustainable for years to come? So.
Okay. Does anybody have anything more to say about the first 8 goals and commitments? Everybody okay with them? Okay. 2025 ongoing goals and commitments for Senior Center Advisory Board. Further enhance the positive momentum and very effective relationship with the Friends of Longmont Senior Center. Broaden, enhance, and further solidify the developing relationship between Arapaho elders of our sister city, the Wind River Reservation. Strengthen the working relationship with the Area Agency on Aging through stronger representation on the AAC board.
Well, it needs to be a representative
Right.
right now, but
I don't know if it's stronger representation, just representation. Continue to research a name enhancement for the senior center, such as Aging Well Center of Longmont, to attract younger seniors. Staff and manage the information table in the lobby of the Longmont Senior Center to provide more information and access for seniors. Continue active collaboration with various city programs that actively support seniors. Ride Longmont, Transportation, Parks and Rec, Sustainability, Longmont Housing Authority, Community and Neighborhood Resources. And is that the last one, right? Okay, good.
Can I ask a question about number 4?
Sure.
On the naming? Has that been discussed, because I'm relatively new, obviously, has that been discussed for a long time about potentially changing the name of the senior center?
Before I got here, it was a discussion with the board at that time. When I got here, that conversation came to an end. And I remember hearing that they did some type of survey for participants to see if that interest was there, and there wasn't at that time.
Yeah.
And so since I've been here, it hasn't been a focus of discussion at all.
Right.
Wondering whether if this board has discussed it to be on this
Yeah.
list for 2025.
Who made the list?
This is recommendations from, I think John pulled these ones together to share with the board, to examine, take a look at, and for you all to decide what ones you want to move forward with.
Okay. Yeah, because the only conversations I've ever heard have been casual conversations, at the end of a meeting or something. If it comes up, people might say, oh, I kind of like that or not, but it was never part of the agenda or never an item that we discussed as a board. So.
no, but it is something that I think nationally is the connotation of senior center, a connotation that we're old. How do we pull in younger seniors and even let people that are not seniors right now know that this is something that they can look forward to, or if they have family or something like that. So other places around Boulder County or even in Well County have changed it, so they've said community center of Lafayette or Louisville or Erie or something.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where it came up at one point was, what does that say? But it's nationwide if they're called senior centers.
And for those examples, though, they are it is a community center because they're tied into a rec center.
Yeah.
Right. So we are different in the sense that we are our own entity, our own building.
Yeah.
The only thing I've seen outside of senior center, that has the same structure as we do is active adults center.
See, and
That's the only thing
I
I've seen.
personally like that better than the word senior, because
Yeah.
that gives a different connotation to it. So when people are looking at it, they're thinking, oh, okay, this is something where we can go and, it's going to be, alive or something. It's not going to be a nursing home.
And some of those that are identified as active adult centers don't have the supportive services that we offer here as well. So I think they're focusing with that title is more on the activity piece, programs, on-site programs, trips to be an active adult. I don't know if that's us as us because of what we offer, recreation services and supportive services.
Our charter is a lot bigger than just,
Right.
yeah.
When you speak about younger seniors, what do we mean, younger seniors? What age, whatever, that is younger seniors? How?
I think it depends on whether you want to take what the federal government says is, or do you want to go back to what AARP says is like 50, I think. Yeah.
55.
50, 55. Yeah. Because some of those people are starting to look at retirement and
Yep.
where can they put some of what they can do, and yeah. Because
Where
we
can they
offer
look at
trips.
plans for?
Yeah, we offer trips and all kinds of things, so it's sort of like,
We're having
Yeah.
quite a bit of younger seniors, in the 50s.
Well, I can speak from experience, right? I started volunteering here at 60, and I was by far the youngest volunteer for the SCTC lab, and a lot of other things I volunteer for. I'm definitely towards the younger, at 60, right?
How do you start to engage people my age, 53, that are going to be that?
Well, or even people in my neighborhood that are in their late 60s, early 70s, like, oh,
Right.
no. Have you been in a senior center? They're like, oh, no, I'm not old enough for that yet.
That's it.
That's what they say.
But that's a
Yeah,
mental
no, you
thing,
hear
that's
that
not
all
a.
the time.
Yeah.
I like that active adults. I think that's a good term. So when does this get voted on, or how do we go about this?
I don't even think it's up for vote or anything. I think it's just beginning the discussion.
And and I think that for the commitments piece is just a commitment to have this conversation further,
Yeah.
including the community. That's how I'm reading it, is including the community. Is there a survey?
Survey.
What
Yeah,
conversations
it'll
do we
take
need
a
to
long-
have to kind of see, our participants as a whole. How do we want this to be called?
You could engage our marketing, communications and marketing group. They helped come up with a name for our housing and community wellness team. So that's a much smaller scale, but I think they might be willing to at least help you come up with a plan of how to work through it.
Wouldn't you want something in place, so kind of codified that these are goals that are sanctioned by the board? Just not you.
Yeah.
It's not,
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking a motion, at the end of all this to adopt all this stuff. Anyway,
We could do that.
Because
I got another point that wasn't really, I got sidetracked on that.
see, another thing that I see out there is that, like you were saying, 64, 65, I'm not understand. There's those that are, close to 50 or 54 that want to be seniors so they can come and join the programs that the senior center has. They want to. I know people that are out there, I'm not a senior yet, can I participate? Yeah, because of what they know that we have here.
Yeah.
When you look through the Go magazine, right, you see some of the classes and stuff. Yeah.
Well, I haven't gone through this one, the new one yet. Yeah, but there's people out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing, I'll shut up on this stuff. I don't disagree with anything that's been said so far. I do agree with it. However, I do quarrel with the word younger. In all our reports we talk about the aging population, especially those 80 and older. I happen to be in that group, 80 and older. What about attracting people that are, let's face it, when you get to be 80 or older, you have more difficulty getting around, all that kind of stuff. And do we really want to attract these people into programs that we may or may not have? I don't know how many programs we really do have for the older old. And so I just wonder about the word younger, whether
Where it says to attract younger seniors? Is that where you're seeing it?
No, not really retracted. Like I said, I don't disagree with it, attracting younger. I just think that maybe more focused on the older old. Because I don't think the older old right now feel that this is a place to come.
Well, and I think part of that may be, how did they get here?
Yeah.
Because a lot of them have given up driving,
Yep.
and so how do they get here? And yes, now we have Ride Longmont, which can get them at least within walking distance, maybe. But I think that transportation is.
Yeah.
How do they get here?
Their mobility is limited.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not as mobile anymore.
So there's
80, 35, the walker, the cane, whatever, but their stability is not very secure, very safe, and that's
Well-
what we feel.
So one of the things the SCTC lab does, right, is we do both in-person and virtual trainings and support, right? So I don't know this, but there, the physical ones, obviously, if you're going to do something physical, you need to be here to do something physical, I would think, but maybe not. Maybe it's something where you could pull it up on your computer screen and maybe do some sort of an exercise even from your own home. But certainly the more cerebral, intellectual type things, the genealogy and some of these things, it seems to me like they would be ripe for, right? How do we set up a virtual environment with cameras and stuff so people can log into it from their home? And we at the SCTC, we do a lot of that. You know, hey, how do I get my computer online so I can do more of this stuff online, right? So maybe, I don't know how many classes we offer that take advantage of things like Zoom and other collaborative type remote, systems, but it's something we could look into.
So
But
right
then you
now,
have, on the other hand, some people that are limited in the navigation of.
Sure.
That is true.
They do not know, do not understand.
Sure.
They barely understand their phones. I didn't see
Let me-
text messages.
Let me just say, this is just an idea that we're looking at for a goal for 2025, is the possibility that there may be interest in having a name change. We don't have to make any decisions. We don't have to kind of get into the conversation
It's an
about it
exploration.
and stuff like that.
So why don't we put it as a future agenda or something maybe, I don't know.
It's just going to be a goal, right?
Yeah,
And would that be enough for everybody?
yeah. It even says research. It doesn't say
Right.
commit, it doesn't say.
Yep.
Ronnie, is there an age for people
What?
to come here?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that too.
55.
It is 55.
and over,
Okay.
okay.
55 and better.
Better.
Okay.
You're movable.
Is there anything else that, I'm sorry, Ronnie, you were going to say something. You sure? Okay. Any questions about the ongoing goals and commitments? Go ahead, Ann.
I didn't realize that we were involved in staffing the table out there.
I guess they would like us to be.
Oh, okay.
I guess that would be an option that anybody who has time to volunteer and wants to sit at the table.
And how do you go about that? Who do you?
So Valerie is the one who organizes our volunteers.
Okay.
She schedules volunteers to provide the support at her front table for provide information, service level support to help alleviate some of those questions from front desk who are answering phone calls or helping people register for classes. It's a surface level conversations. Hey, if you're new to the building, we could do a walkthrough tour. Here's our Go catalog. Hey, I was curious about fitness classes. They'll walk through them, the fitness classes that are available with them through the Go magazine. So
When does the new Go come out?
And those
It is
people that
out.
are sitting there,
it's out.
Oh, it's out, okay,
We'll
yay.
make sure we get one in everybody's hands on the way out today.
Oh, good.
and those people, remember, that you say, sit there, welcome to that, show people that they need some kind of sensitive training. It's kind of that they're okay, ask for this paper, is this pink? No, what are you looking for? That's green. It's been like that always. I mean, some sensitivity to the people that are there
Personal.
looking for, they're not sure,
Yeah.
but, have some sensitivity, well, over there, or this way, and.
That's where this board comes into play, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that might be something to consider in that number 5, to say, explore opportunities for advisory board staff to volunteer in existing programs and services. For examples, help manage the information table. I think that, you all are ambassadors, right? And so how can you be in that role, and how can you set those examples, I think might be something to consider.
That's
Being that ambassador.
That's called board involvement,
Exactly.
That some
Yeah.
type of outreach.
Mhm.
That would be really
Yeah.
So we can learn, and they get to know you, get to know us. Yeah.
And I mean, none of us are experts on everything that goes on here, so we could learn just by being able to explain it to somebody else. We'd be looking through the Go book more, we'd be able to pick up on things, so. Okay. Is there anything else that anybody has any questions about? Speak now. It's your opportunity.
I lied. I can't help it. I would suggest that you make these minor suggestions, incorporate these minor suggestions, and maybe withdraw item 4. Somebody said, I think you said, that'll be a future agenda item, the name business. Just bring it back next time and let's just adopt it as a motion.
Right. And these things aren't concrete, right? This is the only thing we're focusing on for 2025.
Mhm.
It's just a direction, right? It puts in a direction that we want to go, and anything can be added throughout the process, as you
Right.
mentioned.
But as I say, this is our chance to say, yes, we approve of your direction.
Right. And so you're saying recommending to the board to remove number 4?
Yeah, somebody said, let's put that under future agenda items.
Yeah, but I think that was voted down.
Yeah, I think
Nobody wanted that? Okay.
to put it under future agenda items would take up time in a meeting,
Okay.
whereas a goal, it has a broader look to it.
Okay.
Like any time in 2025, we may be addressing this.
Okay, I just thought somebody said that, so that's, yeah, okay.
Is that how people see that?
Could we consider adding one word, potential? And the reason I say that, continue to research a potential name enhancement. And the only reason I bring that up is the way it reads now, it's almost, to me, when I read it, it's almost like it's a given fact that
It's
eventually
ongoing.
we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if city council's going to see this, if I was on the city council, I'd be like, oh, we're going to change the name of the senior center, that it's had that name for 50 years or whatever.
Probably.
It's good, I like that.
Probably
And you know what?
1,000.
I would say take out continue to, because we're not continuing it. It hasn't even started yet.
So just start it with research a potential.
Yeah.
Possibly research. We just want to make it sound, it almost sounds like one person's idea.
Well, it probably
And it got
was.
put on the,
It was probably mine.
and it got put on the thing, which is fine, because we want it there if that's going to be something that we may be looking at this year.
Well, if it's only my concern, my goodness, let's take it off of there because I could talk about
Has there been
soapbox forever,
discussion
but
in the senior center?
I
The
have
people
no
who
idea.
attend things, have they been showing an interest in having a name change? Have you, anybody
Nobody on the
noticed?
SCTC side.
I've heard it for a long time, just
Yeah.
vaguely, and I think it's a good idea to change it so it's not seniors.
I think we should grab hold of it though, because we've been talking about this for 3-4, ever since I've been on the board, we've been talking about it.
Well, I think if we leave it in as a potential, as a possibility or a goal, then it'll be there as a reminder, but it doesn't give it any priority. As far as it's not something we have to rush into and
Yeah.
decide and
See
start
where it
looking
goes.
into.
Yeah.
And research is an evaluation, right? It's not a commitment to, as you mentioned, to change. It's a commitment to investigate, take a deeper look at what the community perspective is.
Okay.
So,
Back again to the goal book. And seeing the goal book with our population, that I'm getting pretty probably spend population, bring him in, bring him in. Stop being a pain, another pain, get in, get up here, learn. Some of the things that are there, even though in Spanish, I feel we need to get together some of them and kind of explain what that program is about so they can understand and get involved, even if it's in English, like crocheting, the language because you have ideas that you can share with the other population that doesn't speak Spanish, and they can get involved. What is this program about? I think we feel I need that to bring our group sometimes within us and do that outreach, that explaining of what that program is about, so they can get more in, because they want to. They don't speak Spanish. That's okay. The needle doesn't speak the language. You guide the needle. So that's what we need to get involved. I feel that we need to do a little explanation into our population, because a lot of them depend on peanuts. Oh, we sign up for this, we sign up for that. No, they need to understand what is it about, how is it, so they can feel more encouraged and be part of the other programs that they should participate.
Okay.
Well, I think
You
that
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that applies to just the general population, because sometimes I look at some of the things and if it was explained a little bit more, it would be a little bit different. So I think it's just
It helps.
yeah.
But the thing is, too, that it's easier to explain something like if you went into crocheting and you needed an explanation, it's easier to explain it to you in English than it is to
Because
explain
I speak
it.
English, but
Right.
yeah, but-
Just to encourage.
And there's
them
more
that-
people that
okay,
would be able to
even-
explain it
even
to
though
you.
They don't understand more so or somewhat that get involved. go do it. I had two ladies that joined the meeting, right? And they enjoyed it. You know, they taught the instructor other ways to do it, and they started coming. So that helps.
Yeah.
I feel.
Question:
Okay.
How often? Am I in line with it? How often do we and or how often do we have like open houses here at the senior center where we draw on people and educate them on the different things we do?
So the model before I got here is I believe it was every 3, if not 4 years. You know, what I've heard is when they were doing it before that, or I'm sorry, in a shorter period of time, 1 year or every 2 years, attendance is small because everybody knew. And so every 3 to 4 years allowed attendance to be greater. So when I first came on, almost 2.5 years ago, I came in. That was the last open house. It was in November when I started. So I started in 2022. I started in December. In November, I came to the open house. Attendance was great. We had booths all over the gymnasium and our front lobby. And so, again, it's every 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
That's important, and that would be great to do it again.
Well, and my thought was is that we could then have, for the Latino community, we could have a room or something established where we could have somebody speaking in their language, right? So, yeah, you guys or whoever else wants to help you, right? And so all those programs can be articulated to them and espoused in your native language, right?
And so a lot of this stuff we already do. You know, we in different spaces. So again, Valerie not only coordinates our volunteers, she's grown our Spanish programs and she's started. And with that growth, what we're looking at is a couple things. We want to provide opportunities for our Spanish speakers specifically to have programs that are intentional, meeting cultural needs, right? That doesn't mean they don't get to participate or anybody else doesn't get to participate in those programs. We want to provide that space, okay? Other programs, Val does a good job. You mentioned a couple of our main volunteers do a good job of saying, hey, here's these programs, additional programs if you're interested, right? Trying to create that interest to attend outside of Spanish programs. So that already happens. I know our front office team does a good job with that too. Advocating, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? And we're starting to see a greater increase in participation in, we'll say, general programs across the board. You know, I want to be careful with saying, in an open house specifically, here's a room for you to go get more information about Spanish programs or other programs, because I want to make sure we're being inclusive in that process as well. We want to have that translation support available, absolutely. We have that translation support available, absolutely, but I don't want to say you have to go over here to get the information you need.
Right. You could do it simultaneously.
It's just we just being aware on how we approach this, because again, we want to be culturally sensitive, absolutely, but we also want to be inclusive in that process as well.
Right. Is there something we want to put down, or are we saying that it's really all taken care of, or that it's in the process of increasing and being able to cover what you need to have covered?
And so,
am I saying that correctly?
So Spanish programs as a whole have increased in participation for our Spanish speakers specifically, but also those non-Spanish speakers participating as well.
Right.
And as for, again, our general programs, we're seeing that participation increase. So I personally, are we asking me, or what is the question? Do you want
Well, because we don't know.
I don't see, me personally, if that's the question. Are you asking my opinion?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel that we have our staff and volunteers specifically are doing a good job promoting participation in programs across the board. That I don't see a need for us to spend more time and energy finding a way to enhance, improve, because that's coming organically, right? Through interest, through those participations that you're talking about. Oh, I attended this program, I better understand. Now we're seeing more participants come as a result of the
more
feedback that we
integration
get, right?
would happen
Exactly.
shortly, soon.
Uh-huh.
That's what I hope to
And
see
now that's
also.
going to carry over to additional programs, other programs as well.
I think the other piece that I would add that Ronnie has done a really good job of is looking, as he's hiring employees, looking at how he can address that participation through bilingual employees. So if you have somebody at the front desk that speaks English and Spanish, if you have a recreation person, we've worked on getting kind of those clinical services in Spanish as well. And so I think that once, kind of from a leadership perspective, that Ronnie has started to do that those things have happen more organically. Like this is I think a really different senior center than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Definitely pre-pandemic. I think it's a little more representative of the community that we have in Longmont. So I think that there's other ways to do
And it's
it.
been very attractive because there's people from Boulder want to come here, want to move here because this is accessible. They like to be part of it. They used to live here and they want to come back here because we tell them what's going on and stuff like that. So what doesn't come over here on the way to take me down there? So let's find housing over here. That's
So-
attractive.
Okay.
Better than the other senior centers, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, because before I used to be part of the we used to go to Lafayette, we used to go to Boulder, to kind of interchange whatever, but it seems like, no, it didn't continue happening. For one reason, people, well, you have to go over there. There should be somebody that speaks your language and can help you and guide you, because over here, and that's what's happening.
So it sounds like we're saying that this is something that we can continue to look at and support, but nothing that we have to put as a goal on this document.
You already, if I'm reading this correctly, you already have it as a goal under number 2 where it says develop a robust. Instead of the word develop, I think it's support. If it's already going on, if we're already doing that here, we don't need to develop it. We need to support. Yeah.
Support the continued.
Yes,
Yes,
or ongoing.
continue, right, ongoing improvement or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Right, and then I think you can really underline that with council, so because they'll listen to they listen to all of us, but from an advisory board to hear, this is what's happening at the senior center, and we want to continue to enhance that, to support that then when Ronnie comes forward in 2026 or 2027 for staff recommendations, we need more staff in this area or that area, there's already that groundwork that has been laid that you all have shared that information.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I think that sounds great.
Say about staff.
Absolutely.
Because the 3 that are now available, it is under appointments. People want to see them, but they can't because they're not enough. We have people out there waiting on waiting list because there's not enough. It's hard.
Okay. Anything else from anybody?
Are you doing these, Ronnie, or who's doing these?
So the adjustments,
Making the changes or
me,
whatever.
I'll
Yeah.
make the changes because
Okay.
once we agree on what those changes are, I'll put them in the 2024 annual report. And these go at the very, very top along with the senior center accomplishments, our recreation services accomplishments
Okay.
and our supportive services accomplishments.
So we'll get these back next month.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And so, and I guess that's what we will identify is, do we need to make these adjustments, have the board review them, finalize them, and then it goes into that annual report, and then it goes to council?
Your
Is
annual.
there a
And we
time-
have time for
Is
that?
there a timeline for that report, Christina, or is it just when we have it?
But it's when you
available to
have
say?
it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. So there's no rush then?
No,
So-
I think that, what you all had talked about in the past was having that done by May, June, so
Yeah.
that it's about getting that information in front of council and kind of connecting all of the pieces so that when they hear this recommendation for Ronnie for XYZ, budget request, they're like, oh yeah, we heard that, and Harold heard that in the work that the advisory board has done.
Okay. Sounds good. Anything else from anybody? Okay. Specific updates by me, Arlene, Dave, John, and others. This is basically on our reports that we submitted. If you look, I'll go first and I'll make it quick. If you look at mine, it does say for housing and for outreach. So housing first. I saw this article that came through. It was an announcement, and it was from the city. So I'm assuming that True North is a new project.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is by Costco.
Okay. So I just wanted you guys to know about it. It's nothing we have to do anything about or anything. It's just informative. And it's about the new home, pioneer home ownership. And basically what they're doing is they're making, where is it that I liked what it said? A model for more affordable and attainable home ownership that is as inspiring as it is necessary. And basically, they're looking at not just people who need affordable housing, but they're also looking at the next group up that just want to get attainable housing. They just want housing that's at a price that they can afford to actually buy and own. And so that's being brought into True North, is this whole idea of affordable housing and attainable housing. And so I think that's a pretty interesting focus, not focus, because it's not.
Does it
It's
say
not
anything
only
about attracting our local
Yes.
that want to become homeowners? Our
That's
Right.
exactly,
Not outsiders that see it, oh wow, I'm homeowners.
So
Leave
I
a
that's
local
exactly what
out.
it's about.
Yeah,
Yep.
important.
I think that it's 25% of the housing will be available to county or city employees and,
Yes.
yeah. So that, I think that's great.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
we're talking about
I
starting
really
with
love that idea.
$50,000, they can get into something, yeah.
So
Yes. Go ahead.
there's two pieces of land that are, because I live around there, two pieces of land that are being developed. One more south, and then there's another one across the street. Is this True North on both sides?
I wonder if what one of the sites that you are thinking about, is it by a daycare?
Daycare?
Is it because there is another development that's happening there. They're building an early childhood hub.
Oh, I think that's
around
the other side of
okay.
Quail.
That is off of 3rd, right across from apartments. I wonder if we're talking about the same thing.
I don't know.
So the True North has, if you get onto truenorthlongmont.com, you can join an interest list, and they will give you updates on what's happening. And so
okay.
they have, if you speak Spanish, you can check that box on there, and they'll send you information in Spanish. And they'll keep you. You can join the interest list, and they'll give you information.
And this housing, are these 3 levels, 4 levels?
It's mixed. It's a mixed development, yeah. So with townhomes and single family homes.
What I see then, why I'm saying this is I see a lot of people. They're trying. The developers are coming here, wherever they come from, whatever. These are local women developers, so they know. The levels, 2 levels, 3 levels, 4 levels. It's very difficult. Going up the steps without rail, taking your cama, bed, peinador, dresser up there. Difficult for them. They can't. You haven't developed, yeah, right. But for whom? It is difficult for our elderly people to get into those. And they get away, the developers, because it's up to 3 or 4 according to ADA. They don't have to put an elevator. That's what they were getting at. We have to get after DA and 101 to do it. That they need to put the developers 3, 4, steps on building or floors to put an elevator, because it's very important for people, even younger ones. Really,
Yeah,
it is difficult.
I've talked to developers about that, and because we've got a deal going on in Mount Farm, but what they'll say is that, well, the ground floor can be for seniors, right? So if they develop it where it's like a multi-story apartment building, right, where you've got, each unit is on a different floor, then the ground floor would be for the seniors, the upper floors would be for people that, that's their excuse.
Yeah, that's their excuse.
But they do
Gotta
that.
check it out, that's true, We gotta push the ADA, American Disabled Act, that they need to make it more accessibility for all humans, really.
Well, let me just say, it is a collaborative effort between the city of Longmont and the private developer. So they will have some input, it's not just going to be a developer coming in and doing it all their way. So we'll just have to wait and see. All right, does anybody have any questions about housing? There was nothing else to report besides True North, simply because, as Harold said in the meeting, everything's kind of on hold right now, and they're trying to figure out what's going on with financing. So they're not really looking to move forward with anything until they get a better idea. And as he said, it switches daily for him. So I don't think we'll be seeing too much, in the very near future about what's going
The only
on.
thing I would add is that there are a couple of people that have announced they're running for city council, and Jake Marsing, he's the most vocal and seems to have a huge coalition of support. And then there's Alex Kalkoffer, and then there's another gentleman, I forget his name, and there'll be others. But every one of them obviously has on their kind of mission statement or whatever has promoted affordable housing as a big focus. So I think city council is going to continue to really push affordable housing.
And we need to hold them accountable. We have to. Yeah. You're saying this, gotta do it. Yeah.
Who's
You win the
leading the
voters.
city council?
Rodriguez. Rodriguez is leading.
Shakita, Alex is not Alex. Aaron Rodriguez is termed out. So it's Shakita, Aaron.
The mayor.
The mayor
The
could
mayor.
run one more time if she decides.
Yeah, she could run one more.
Yeah,
And
time.
Ward 2.
Yeah.
Ward 2.
And Matthew Popkin has to
Yeah.
run. He has to run it.
Okay, all set? Okay, the next thing is outreach. And we are going to be taking this very slowly and very intentionally as we look into what we're going to do for outreach. The first thing that we wanted to do was draft a flyer and make it available for just us on the committee, have in our cars. Anytime we drive by a place we think it would be appropriate to put up a flyer, we would go ahead and do it. I was recommending that we put it in the Friday folders with school, that SVVSD puts out in their Fridays to all school kids. However, what I found out is the folders have gotten so big that people don't necessarily read them. They kind of thumb through them real fast, and if there's not anything that catches their attention, they just don't read them. The recommendation was made that we actually could put them up in schools. So that's something we're going to look into. Again, that will require us talking to SVVSD and finding out if that is allowed. But it's going to be a very careful process that we go through this. While we're doing that, we're looking into having what we're calling pop-ups in neighborhoods. And this will be coming in, obviously, when the weather gets warmer. But we could possibly use Lashley as the first place and have a day that we advertise, an afternoon, that we would have information available about the senior center. And what Harold mentioned at the meeting was we could also include other groups, businesses, support. If we're already going to be advertising something like a gathering to bring in seniors to talk about what's going on at the senior center. There might be other people that want to join us that they can also talk to seniors about what they have, such as Next Light, such as the museum, such as, I was thinking El Comite might want to participate in something like that. This would be an ongoing thing. You know, we would have one at Lashley, for instance. And then we would find another area in another neighborhood that would allow us to have this, and we'd already have it kind of building up. So we would bring it to another area and bring it to another area. Have it at Cinco de Mayo if we need it. We're going to be talking about whether senior services is going to have their own table or if they're going to be involved with the senior center. I mean, not senior services, I'm sorry. If the advisory board is going to have their own table or if we're going to join in with seniors, the senior center. I know last year we joined in with them.
Historically, we always have.
Okay. I don't see any reason we can't, that we can just leave at one table if both banners are up.
Because the whole focus is to promote the programs.
Right.
And that's what we're doing anyway. So
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And it would be our chance to support the staff by being volunteers.
Right.
So that sort of thing. But as things go on during the summer, we may have a good opportunity to get all our information together and go to another summer event.
The Day of the Dead's coming up.
Right. So this is something we're going to be slowly working through and figuring out. Don't even know if there's a format that we need to use for the flyer, if somebody from the city has to be the one to write it, if we can use their logo. I mean, these are all questions we're figuring out.
Yeah.
So, but it is going to be, we're looking at long-term having this developed to where we can go from place to place to place and we can, have our information on the senior center.
And
Let
carry
people
our
know what's
whole
going
books
on.
with us. I carry, 2, 3 or whatever, and I see people, 2, here, no.
Yep.
Yeah.
Question for you, Ronnie. I thought the Go Book was every 4 months.
30.
No, changed.
We have it. Yeah, so we have 3 going out now. The turnarounds. What we've noticed, the turnaround for each Go cycle was too quick.
Okay.
For not only releasing one, now reaching out to all contractors, facilitators, presenters to say, hey, we're getting ready for our next one,
Uh-huh.
to build another one, to put together, organize, find space. So
Right.
what we did is, and not only that, the cost for 4 prints.
Sure.
So we focused on time and energy and cost and moved it to 3 prints, which aligns with recreation. And so we have 3 Go cycles going out now.
Right.
Yeah.
But January, February, March, April.
Yes.
Wouldn't that mean the next one would come out at the beginning of May?
Um,
No.
Or was it December?
It comes out the month before the program starts.
So May for April,
Okay.
and then
May, June.
You mean April for May?
It'll go May through
April through
August.
and then May through.
Okay, good.
And
I get it
it'll come
now.
out in July, right?
Okay.
This one is from May to August.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
It sounds to me kind of
August. 4
back to what, as I'm listening to your conversation, part of what you might want to consider is that whole, how does this, answering the question of how this board, individual members are ambassadors to the senior center and to the senior services division, and maybe flesh out that work plan to say this is what it means. It means outreach. It means and kind of have that broader piece of
Outlook.
of that broader goal. I guess is what I'm trying to say, because as people transition off this board, how do you keep something like that going And kind of looking at it from a bigger perspective would be something that I might recommend. You know, it's about that ambassadorship and what does that look like? Because you can implement a program, but as people move on, what happens to that?
Okay.
Is that resonating?
Yeah. It would definitely be something we would want to
Right.
make it so it could continue.
Right, and what role does the staff play in that? And what, these are, if you're an ambassador from the advisory board, here are the things that you could get involved in. Does that make sense?
Yes, because I think you guys have been pretty specific about what we cannot do.
Right.
That I think we need to know, this is what you can do, this is what you cannot
Right.
do.
And it's not about what you cannot do, but it's about, there's certain things that volunteers do programmatically for the senior center. And so is that kind of an overarching piece to this goal to this group, that there is the understanding that each of you are going to participate as a volunteer, to kind of back to that point of keeping your finger on the pulse of what's going on with seniors. You want to know that. Like, you don't want to be a board that just works in isolation and doesn't have any connection to programs. So, SCTC, the food security stuff, the housing stuff, and what does that look like?
Okay, so then that would probably mean that the next thing we should do is maybe you and I should meet and talk about some guidelines, some basic structure
Maybe a direction
of what
to go
outreach
with.
would be.
You, John, and
And I don't even know if we can use Lashley. These are all ideas we've just been coming up with.
Right. But I think through the programmatic piece, which really is the staff to operationalize that's the, your advisory to, policy to city council and to program to Ronnie, and it's his job to kind of operationalize that. So I think that's a great idea to sit and talk about that and maybe flesh those ideas out a little and then bring it back to this board for some reaction.
We also had a meeting for the legislate. I was February. I was the one who sat down with the coffee with leadership.
Okay.
And about 3 members of the Friends Board came. So we invited them to join us, so they're now going to be participating.
Really?
So I think that would be another way we could bring on their support.
Yeah. So who from this board attends, coffee with leadership, coffee with council, those kinds of things. I think those are all really good examples of how to be ambassadors and advocates for senior services and the programs that they
How about being ambassador to my council representative?
Yeah.
In my case, it's, I don't remember her name. It's Ward 1.
Is it
Just
Diane
calling
Christ?
Diane Christ.
Yeah.
Diane Christ. Just calling her and talking about things that are important.
I think that is in your purview as that's part of your role, right? So keeping connected to your ward, your council person, in your ward.
Plus the members at large.
Members at large. So what does that plan look like? And it could include, some of this outreach and using city facilities to do that, and how board members volunteer to be part of that, and really kind of working that into the senior.
How about Matthew? I think it's his name.
Yeah, he's the representative.
He will be coming to our meeting?
He will. Yeah, he is on a flight again today. He let Ronnie and I know, but Ronnie's going to circle back with him on Monday to talk about senior services, about their needs, about kind of what he's heard from this board. So,
we could have the same kind of relationship with him?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, that's all I have. Anybody have any questions?
I have a comment. I like what you're saying, about being careful and everything. One thing I worry about is that if we do a lot of outreach we do a lot of the same thing, and we bring along a lot of the same people in that we have already, rather than to reach some of the underserved and underrepresented. So I like the idea that you're saying you'd go area by area, neighborhood by neighborhood, function by function, that sort of thing. Was an idea. You didn't say this, but I assume it would be to get at certain populations.
Right.
Okay.
Okay? That's
So,
exactly what we want to do.
Ronnie, if we were to, this is going to be down the road, I'm sure, outreach, and all of a sudden we have a huge influx of people, can we accommodate them in this facility?
Yeah, good question.
Right now, no. Right? And when I say that is what we're looking at is a couple things. Programs, there's space, right? Depending on the location of the program. If it's a program in here and that interest grows and we're at capacity for 30 people and now we have 50 who want to, right? Depending on the program, then no. CEPs usually cap at 80, 90 people. We have 120 now. We'd have to tell those people no. Supportive services is what concerns me, right? Is right now we have that wait list, and depending on the time, it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks out. And we want that interest, we want to provide that support, but do we have the staff to and capacity to take on additional clients and work that wait list down? We need additional staff to support.
So it's a balancing work, balancing effort to kind of incorporate.
And we could be
everything.
looking at it just in that way. Do we need to go out and do one more, another neighborhood thing, or are we going to put it on hold for a little while and kind of see how that works out?
Are we going to limit where, what we're,
So
where
a
we're
couple
going?
things, that awareness. So we're calling that outreach, but that awareness in various neighborhoods within our community is very, very important, right? So those who do not know these services exist, that awareness is very, very important, right? But then it goes with that is, how do we also advocate for additional staff to support? Because a couple of things, not only are we raising awareness, we have our Boulder County that's projecting that increase in the next 25 years of our senior population, right? So how do we bring awareness to those in our community? How do we plan for those that anticipated ginormous increase in senior population over the next 25 years, but also try to get our staff in place so we can be proactive and not reactive, saying, "Oh shoot, we have a problem now." That wait list is going from 6 to 8 weeks out.
That's a
Right, and how can this group be ambassadors and people that help provide that education in the community? Is it coming to council, coffee with council to kind of talk about that? When information is in front of people, multiple times, and they hear the message, whether it's people in the community, our policymakers, our leadership. I think that is where you all have extreme power and influence in that, right? Like
Potential.
Potential, right. Potential to kind of help people understand what's coming down the pike. Like, my Generation X are going to be seniors in a couple of years, and that's a large population. So how do you start to look at those kinds of trends and help educate the community on that? Are there op-eds in the paper that you can write? Like, I think those are all ideas that you can talk about in terms of being that ambassador and that voice for what's happening with seniors.
And I always think about Dave when this comes up, is because what is that percentage increase for our 80 plus?
Yeah.
What is that? What is that percentage?
Yeah.
Your favorite percentage was like 221%, right?
Yeah.
And so, not to downplay the need for our recreation services, it's very important, right? Enhance and improve quality of life through on-site programs and day trips. Right now, we already have an issue, right? That's why we've worked with our friends. I've thrown data at them for 8 months to say, here's the data, here's the need. We need 2 new vehicles, which in support of the advisory board, we got that approved now. And that's not to provide more programs, That's to provide to support our current need, right? So that way we can eliminate wait lists or try to eliminate wait lists by having 4 vehicles going on one trip versus 2. And so with more people coming in, right, that's going to create a greater need for
It's a tricky
more
one.
buses, right?
Yeah.
Which is still fun, good
Yeah.
problem to have. But
Thanks,
it's just,
Maddie.
what I mean is, again, how do we stay ahead of it? How do we stay
Right.
proactive versus reactive?
Right.
So.
Okay.
I have a question. The outreach, it's you and Marta and Maria?
And anybody else who wants to join us. We have about 3 people interested from friends, maybe 3 or 4. So we're going to kind of develop this and see what we're looking at.
You
Um,
have time? Join us.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely join us. Everybody's welcome. Whoever wants to get involved, even just to pop in and see where we're at with it. You're
Just
definitely
taking action of the ones that we see that we need to do.
Right.
That's important.
So you're
bringing it to the people. Really is what we're talking about. And one more thing I wanted to say: we're going to end up publishing these meetings because there's going to be more than 2 people at them. So I'm going to be getting with you to find out exactly what we need to do that.
Do you have to get that posted in advance?
That's what I'm
You do
going to talk
all
to
that?
Bianca about. Okay, senior services, transportation. Anybody else have anything? Senior services is next. Transportation is next, I'm sorry.
So just be real fast here because you all have had a chance to read this. Vision Zero tomorrow night at 6:30 to, is it 6:30? Where am I at here? 6 to 7:30, and it's here at the Senior Center. Vision Zero, you'll remember that somebody came and talked to us a couple of months ago and said this is to decrease the amount of fatalities or critical accidents that happen. And so it is now in Longmont. It's in several other cities across the nation. So it's a good time to go and learn about it and see what they have to say. So it's tomorrow night here. What is today? Wednesday? Yeah, tomorrow night. 13 6 to 7:30. And the train's coming eventually someday. According to last night, right?
Is there anything else?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Hang on, I didn't have the agenda up. Wait 1 second.
Dave and John.
Here we go. Oh, John and Dave, right?
You want to start, Dave, or you want to start? Or?
Why don't you start?
Just to give, everybody's read your report, so just to give kind of a
Yeah.
outline.
So we provided this last time, but obviously we were focused on the food security issue and Harold, right? So so Dave and I have met a couple of times. We met on February 13th, and then we met last week. And Dave's been focused. Historically, Dave's focus was really more on Boulder workforce and putting together the need, right? What identifying that we've got a problem here, right? Which I think, Dave, you got in your notes as well. And I'll let Dave discuss that. When I met with Dave, my focus was more on the SCES. I get the acronym messed up, but I think it's SCSEP, which is a national organization that focuses on a number of things, but senior employment is one big focus of them. So I had a discussion, which is also in the notes here, with Sheila Hart that I reached down in Lakewood. They have a big center down in Lakewood about what we can do to bring awareness and what to the issues, and then also what can we do to start to introduce different programs that they already have to help seniors find employment, and then also potentially act as a host. So there are a number of organizations that were hosts to SCSEP, and if you're a host, say a host employer or host nonprofit, then there are resources that were available. One example of that is if you establish employment for seniors, you can have some of your costs offset. So let's say you offer them an hourly wage. Part of that hourly wage could be reimbursed through this national organization. So if you're taking a risk by bringing a senior into an employment opportunity, that national organization would offset some of that cost for a period of time and provide other resources for things like training, as an example, right? Because there could be a learning curve and a training curve. So as you're paying that senior to be trained, that cost would be offset. So Sheila had a number, I mean, she really had a wealth of information. So one of the things we talked about is having her come up here and speak to us along with workforce so that we understand what's currently available and how do we bring that type of program into the senior center potentially. The challenge is that she won't return my emails now. So unfortunately, I'm afraid that because the SEP is Health and Human Services, funds part of that. Their jobs literally are in that organization, and as you all know, I think that was one of the ones that Trump and the White House, and it was cut dramatically. Like 10,000 employees were cut out of it. So she hasn't returned my emails. Not to say she's not working there anymore, but my fear is that because she was really responsive, my fear is she may no longer have a job. So that Dave can tell you that something similar is happening, maybe a little less dramatic, but some things like that are happening with Boulder Workforce. We're going to have, and Arlene gave me a nice article, we're going to have to come up with some more creative ways to come up with these programs and that are maybe funded more locally through a state or maybe some other grants, some other funding organizations, because we can't rely on the federal funding, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
That's true.
Dave, you want to
Sure.
take over from
Were you
there?
going to say something else? Oh,
No, I think that kind of covers.
okay. I contacted the Workforce Services yesterday, and I had called a couple of times and sent an email, no response, and I finally got a hold of someone, and the person had been very responsive, so it wasn't that. I think she was just kind of buried. But the bad news is that I think you've got a copy in here someplace about that proposal for an employment program, so to speak, that I thought maybe the Workforce Services Boulder County Workforce seemed interested in putting something like that together. Well, to make a long story short, they're all wondering, like the rest of us, what's going to happen? Is there any money? Is there going to be any money this year, next year, whatever? I think some of them are concerned about their own jobs. So I think I told you that I'd have something definitive by April. They said that's when they would have some idea what their funds were going to be. And I think that's still the case, but it doesn't look good. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm disappointed, I'm frustrated, but I just don't know where that's going to go. I just don't know what I was talking about is viable, to be honest with you. So I've been thinking a little. Now, John, this is something we've not talked about because I'm just thinking about this the last couple of days. And I'm thinking maybe the approach needs to be more something like, Arlene gave this to me. You got this from Workforce Boulder County on the different kinds of skills and things that they could do for older folks that were interested, or anybody that's interested in working. And maybe the focus needs to be on, I don't know what, I think Brandy's got this probably well under control as far as the kinds of resources that might be available. But I'm thinking that maybe we could maybe do an inventory of community resources like you were talking about, an inventory of possible funding availability, something like that. Take a little bit different approach to use what we've got rather than look for funding for, from some outside source. Because I don't know. I'll keep trying. I'll push it, but I just be honest with you. I just don't know what I'm going to be able to come up with. So I think, John, you and I can talk more about that, and maybe we would want to talk with Ronnie and with John, and I don't know, whoever. I'm not quite sure where to go with it, to be honest with you. But I do think it's worthwhile. I'm not giving up. It's just we may have to change directions.
Okay. How about if you just give us a, how about if you're just on the agenda for May and you can give us an update and let us know where you're at with it?
Okay, that's fine.
Good?
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds great.
I think you did a fabulous report.
Yeah.
Because I read through this, and you've really done a lot of work. It's too bad that it might not,
Yeah, it just
won't be able to follow through with it.
creates some challenges.
Yeah.
And you never know what could come from that, you know?
Yeah, challenges are opportunities. Right?
That's right, yeah.
Do you know why it says July meeting?
So July meeting falls on the week of 4th of July.
Oh, okay.
And so we meet the 2nd. July 4th is on a Friday. We just didn't know vacations, if that interfered with vacation plans, people being out, and if we wanted to move that to the 9th instead.
So why don't we take a vote? The options are the 2nd or the 9th of July. Who wants to go with July 2nd?
I'm okay with July 2nd.
I go July 2nd.
Does anybody want to go with July 9th? No? Okay.
So 2nd it is.
2nd it is.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure on that.
Food insecurities update. I take it we don't have one.
No, there is one. Very brief, very brief. I don't know if you got this. Did you guys get this? You did not send it? Okay. Well, basically what it looks like now, and I'll just say that about a year ago is when we had Naomi from Food,
Longmont Food Share. No,
Food,
no,
Resource.
yeah.
no. But you know what it is.
Yeah. Come in and Food Rescue.
Rescue.
And come
That's
in
it.
and talk to us about what they do, and we got all excited about it, and we jumped on it, and we said, we're going to start on this in September. It is now April 2nd, and it's not started yet. However, it's my understanding that we're going to be able to start this in May. So, guys, you know what? That's a month away.
The food table?
Yeah, food
Okay.
table here at the center. Is that your understanding? Okay. So
It's been approved and everything?
Yep.
okay. So
Great.
So we're
what I'm reading from this
Okay.
is from John, is that it would be either the 2nd or 3rd Saturday in May, but I think we need to decide which one it is, because we need to get communication out about
Sure.
this is happening. And it is going to be the food rescue, and it's going to be the food table from 10 to 11:30, one Saturday a month. Our center had said that they would try to work with us, but they're kind of in limbo right now with their funds. So right now we have food rescue that she's looking at doing it. So
I didn't hear as early as May. That's new, which is still fine.
okay,
But last I heard is they were still trying to figure out, as you mentioned, staffing and their whole.
okay. Well,
So
maybe what we need to do is say, if to start it, are we going to do it the 2nd or the 3rd? At least get that set. And even if it isn't in May, if it's in June, at least we'll know. Because we need to get communication out about this, or otherwise nobody's going to come.
Right.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
my recommendation for time, I would look at starting June, because then that gives us April
In
to
May.
iron out all the details, and
Yeah.
some of April and all of May to advertise for June.
And it gives us one more meeting
Mm-hmm.
to be able to talk about it and everything else, and then say, you know, that'll be started in June.
Right.
Okay?
So I think what we need to decide, what I think we need to decide is, do we want it the 2nd Saturday or the 3rd Saturday? Does it make any difference to you?
Now, doesn't matter. Second Saturday just sounds easier to remember.
It does.
Right.
Yeah, is there anything anybody can think of that goes on in the 12 months that the second
Well, maybe we
Saturday
just-
would be better than the third? If you're going to the third, you're kind of running into Christmas and Thanksgiving and all that sort of thing. So I would think the second would be a good option in general. Okay.
Okay.
Anybody want to vote on it? Who wants to do it on the second Saturday of the month?
I'm fine anyway, we do it.
Okay.
So we're going the second Saturday.
And Naomi will bring in her own people.
Do we need volunteers? Do
Yes, we need
to-
volunteers. So, I mean, I'm just kind of going by what's here because I have not actually talked to John. And what my understanding was that we would need to help set up the tables. Is that still correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So we would need volunteers to help set up the tables. So we would do that Saturday morning. She set the time, or somebody set the time, from 10 to 11:30. So that's an hour and a half. So we would need to get them set up ahead of time,
Right.
and then also take them down. Correct?
Yeah, so, making sure that staff isn't responsible for setting up, cleaning up, tearing down. It's, if this is something we want to do, so we talked about having the board members be available and present. We can have a table set up that night for our custodian, but just helping manage it. They are staffing it 100%. We're not providing any staff.
Yeah, just sort of kind of,
Yeah, and they're
Making
responsible for making sure everything's cleaned up at
yeah.
the end.
So it would just be a matter of about a couple of hours here.
Maybe 9 to
Well, probably from 10
12:30?
to 11:30. So yeah.
12? 9 to 12?
I don't. Is it in there in the report? The timeline, John?
10
10
to
to
11:30 is what she said. So we'd get the table set up, she'd bring her stuff in, and I think it's just a matter of sort of making sure people know where to go and, that kind of thing like we kind of did with the raffle draw.
Right.
Yeah.
We explored the lobby. We'll have to take a look at calendar. We explored the lobby. We explored using room F because it has the tile floor down there. We briefly discussed room D&E with that entrance and exit on the side, but
Right.
whole goal is to get people in the building, right? But if they went down to room F, at the very, very end of the hallway, that's our craft room that has the tile flooring. Again, spills are easier to clean up, 1, and 2, there's also an exit right there. If they had their items, they can go directly to the parking lot.
Mhm.
Right.
Custodian on Saturdays, right? No, custodian.
And that's why we can't have staff setting up, cleaning up, because we don't have a custodian on site on Saturdays.
That makes sense.
But it was
We're
my
okay to
understanding
set up
that they-
help and all that, right?
You're a volunteer? Yes.
Good.
As long as people are volunteers.
Okay.
Was my understanding that they would clean up, they would set and clean up, but we just get,
That was my
We're
understanding.
just here for support.
I do not want to be
My favorite word
scrubbing
of the day.
floors.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't do that at home. Okay, so, all right, if we do that, so then I think by next month, it needs to go back on the thing, and we need to have some pretty good idea of what communication is getting out there. Yeah, so that's up to you guys to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
okay.
with John, obviously he's not here today, but I have those remaining details and go from there.
Yeah,
Okay.
because there's
Anything
several
else?
ways they can advertise in the paper, and I think we've got a whole communication staff down there at the city, don't we? I think.
Can we utilize them?
We can see. I can't guarantee.
Okay.
We don't,
make a
their
request,
workload, but yeah, we can reach out.
but it gives us time.
Okay.
Yeah, there's time.
So
Yep.
that really was this is we are going to get this thing going, and we just need to advertise it, and we need to have volunteers to help. So I think we'll do that. That's
Okay.
pretty much food insecurity.
Excellent. Thank you.
And I guess that whether it be the second or third week really depends on their staffing though too, right? What
Yeah, we might have to leave that open till they talk to them.
right. So
Yeah. Well, so you can
'Cause-
tell John, I guess if you're going to talk to John, that we thought the second would be better, but it needs to be set,
Right.
because we can't be moving back and forth with it, yeah.
Quick question, does anybody know when they have the produce in the park and produce in the parking lot?
Sundays.
It is Sunday, right? Good. Okay, because I was going to say that's usually the second and fourth.
So that's YMCA, Collier Park, or
Kaufman. I mean, Collier.
Longmont United.
Do they do YMCA too? Huh?
Sometimes they
Maybe
do
future,
YMCA.
yeah.
Okay.
They
So
have
we'll just
all of
have to
their-
ask them.
Their days listed on the website, I believe.
Okay.
They used to anyway.
All right. Okay, you're up.
I'm up. My paper's everywhere. You'll find my report. There it is. All right. I'll start off talking about the Elder Exchange. Thanks to our board who attended the welcome home dinner on the Wednesday when we kicked everything off. That was a really great way to start this work.
That was really nice.
It was. The attendance was great. The conversations were fantastic. I really, appreciate the discussion we had, the panel discussion we had to hear from Northern Arapaho leadership, the direction they want to see this go, and really get their feedback on this work we're doing. And then also thank you for hosting the one of the dinners and being available and present to help serve meals and be present in those conversations and developing those relationships. But as a whole, the first Elder Exchange was a success. I really thought it was going to take a minute for everybody to get warmed up. Everybody jumped on in, and just hearing the conversations, the story sharing, the laughter, really showed why, number one, while we're doing this work, but show that our goals were met. And what I mean by that is I was driving the vehicles and anywhere we were going, just hearing those conversations and laughing in the background was just solidifying. Like, what we're doing is this. What I'm hearing is why we're doing this, right? And so, as a whole, fantastic experience from everybody that I've heard. I've received emails from our Northern Arapaho friends, so they're still talking about it. And it's really important for our community to see the investment that we as Senior Services has in this work, Human Services has in this work for children, youth, and family, and us, and really see the value that the city of Longmont has in this work, or is invested in this work, and I'm just really proud of it. I'm at a loss for words because it's really hard to explain. Some of us were there, and I'm at a loss of words on how to explain what it was like. It was beautiful. It was impactful. It was amazing, and I'm just excited to see where this goes next. They're really sad to leave on the very last day because of those relationships that we built in such a short period of time, and inviting them here to the senior center, walking around, participating in different groups, engaging in different conversations with non-participants in the Elder Exchange, and having conversations with them on the side. It was we don't have a facility like this. We don't have the resources available. We went into lab probes. We have sewing machines, but we don't have materials. We have food, but we don't have, Meals on Wheels pretty much. We have food available, but not like you have. And so it was really eye-opening for our participants too. And I already see us starting to think of, okay, well, how do we take some of the resources that we have and take them to the reservation when we go in July? I see our lab probes came to me yesterday and said, hey, in our conversations, they talked about how they only have one sewing machine and no supplies. Can we send supplies and donate one of our sewing machines to when you go down to the reservation in July? I said, absolutely. So just seeing that our community to come together to say, hey, how can we support and provide resources that we're really rich in, and take down to the reservation when we go. They didn't want to leave because of the way we welcomed them, the way we cared for them, the way we loved them in that short period of time. And they said, we're not treated this way by those outside of the reservation in our own community. People of Riverton don't treat us the way you have in these 4 days. And, so the energy's there, the excitement's there. Their participants already had a list of things that they're going to take to their leadership and say, hey, when our participants go down in July, we're going to share this list of things that we want them to experience. These are the things that we already have planned. We're just going to make sure leadership knows about it. So that energy and excitement is there. I know we've had a few of our board members who are in attendance in the exchange. And I don't know if anybody else, I would love to open it up to anybody else to share, their experience if they would like to. So no pressure, just saying you can.
I'll share, the trip that we had. My concern was, and I was not very happy, because I think we should have all left at 8:30, because by the time we got there was traffic like crazy, 4 lanes. We couldn't get there. You're there yet? No, we're not there yet. I'll be there yet. The time that we left, 10:30, was and I guess it was because probably school break, when school, so there was a lot of people, a lot of traffic, but to get there. The guys that went first at 8:30, if we would have all gone at 8:30, the buses, whatever, I think we would have seen everything.
Right.
We missed the whole thing.
So clarity on that one. So MARTA participated as a senior center participant. In the Go catalog, we chartered a bus for participants to register and go. So that's separate from the Outer Exchange specifically. So their bus left at a different time than our Outer Exchange participants. So two different ones.
Well, and then when we got there, so we're going to be all kind of together. It's kind of to each his own. I was concerned for some of our seniors. No rails, making sure that we don't get lost, because they don't know. I mean, to go eat, whatever, it was difficult. Or to go shop and see their product, there was not time. They gave us an extra half an hour and then another extra half hour. But it all turned out, I guess, it was the trip, whatever. But it was difficult to not be able to see the whole presentation, the ceremony, and
we
finding where to sit.
And I'd love to unpack that with you for the programmatic side of it, but I'm opening the floor for the Outer Exchange specifically.
Mm-hmm.
See if anybody wanted to share out on that one.
Did anyone send you pictures that they had taken on their phones?
I've had a couple send me some text messages,
Okay.
yeah.
I took.
Because you haven't asked for it yet, I think it'd be great to see what pictures people took.
Oh, yeah.
Just to,
Oh yeah.
Right.
I got some.
And I promise you that is on my laundry list of things to do. But we're getting there. We are getting there, and I'll explain the laundry list here in a second.
Wasn't there a huge accident?
So
Yeah.
for those participants, yeah. So our group headed down early to reserve. Again, we're on a different timeline than our scheduled
Right.
senior center trip, and so what they ran into was a couple accidents on the way down. Yeah. You want to share anything from the exchange? You don't have to.
I had a great I kept busy and but just trying to be involved everywhere I could. So, but sorry, I'm switching gears, trying to. Yeah, just those connections. I'm really looking forward to hopefully participating in July, seeing their senior center, seeing, maybe there will be some takeaways that of programs or activities that we don't provide here. And, even just being a state away, you're always going to see differences and what different routines like we can implement here. it was a great time all around. I think I'm still recovering.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So, I mean, I had a chance.
Wouldn't
to
doubt
this,
it.
right? I haven't had a chance to recover yet.
Yeah.
I just want to say for Ronnie and for Bianca and for all the people who put this together, it was a huge endeavor. It was really huge and it was really involved and there were so many moving parts. And to look at it afterwards and realize it really went off well. You had no problems besides your timing that was out of your control. But there were no problems that anybody ran into or that you had to deal with. You know, things went pretty smoothly for the first time you've ever done this. And to have this group of people down here for 4 days where you're taking care of their hotel and their, you know, their meals and everything. I think if you're going to bring them something, when you go up in July, you might consider a pool table because I understand they really liked the ones that were here. But that, you know, they were happy, they were interested, they were, you know, I just saw a good reaction. I just saw a good reaction to the dinners that I went to. And I didn't really get a chance to speak to a lot of people, but the one thing that struck me is I was told about the amount of what's the word I'm searching for? About the terrible way they're treated by the people of Riverton.
Yeah, the hostility
You know,
there.
that was startling. I had no idea that still was a problem they had to deal with. So whoever goes up in July, you may see that. You may get a sense of what it's like for them to come off the reservation and go into the city. And the racism, that's the word I was searching for. So that, you know, you can kind of put that in your back burner for when you're going up. But yeah, I just want to say I think it was well done. I think people had a great time. And you guys really put in a lot of work. And now that we have an idea what something like that's like, we could possibly help out more and be more supportive of the events that, you know, of the days that you need help and things like that.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
We have one
Yeah.
more thing.
Yeah.
I think sort of the hidden side benefit of the exchange was that I got to meet a lot of people from the senior center that I had never interacted with before.
Yeah.
And it was good to make those connections too.
And my, what I found out was their gratitude. They
Yeah.
had such gratitude for being here. It was beautiful just to listen to them talk about that. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, very well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to congratulate you both. You did a really good job, and everybody else who helped out.
Thank you.
And again, if you know, the next time something like that is done, tap into us a little more. Now that we understand what.
Now we know
What it's
We know
all about,
everything.
yeah.
Now we know everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
We didn't know what we didn't know. So
Right.
We should send a
Okay.
letter to city council.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
What a good job that you did. That would help you, wouldn't it?
Well, thank you.
Sure.
I'd like to.
yes,
Appreciate that. Thank you. And then, yeah, we're going up to the reservation in July 9th through 13th. So very excited about that. Again, the excitement's there, the energy's there, and July will be here before we know it. And I can't wait to see that reconnection, right? The relationships we build a few months apart, and then connecting again. So I'm excited for that.
Are you going to take your new vans?
That's the hope. That's the hope. That's the hope. Speaking of van updates, so we now have both new vehicles at fleets, and they're working on lettering the vehicles right now. Once they're available, they'll hand us over the keys, and from there we'll be able to start increasing attendance for our trips, meaning eliminating the wait list. So those trips, there's a wait list, we now have an additional vehicle to send more people on. So once I get those vans, I'll let you know. 2024 Advisory Board Annual Report, we kind of talked about that. We said it in here, I put it will be available at the April meeting, but it sounds like April meeting, we're going to take our 2024 accomplishments, our 2025 goals, review those edits, and from there, we'll move it to the, I could still have it available, but
Either May or
compile for June.
Isn't
Or, I'm
this,
sorry,
For
isn't
May.
this the April meeting?
I'm sorry, for May,
Okay.
for May, that's supposed to say May, but then ready for for June, 100% complete.
I get lost.
So staff updates. I just interviewed our recreation program supervisors. 2 great candidates. We're bringing them back in for one last interview here soon. So very, very confident in both of them for sure. So hopefully by the end of this month we'll have an announcement of our new recreation program supervisor. Have interviewed for our evening positions, our part-time positions, our evening supervisor and our evening receptionist. I have made offers to 2 candidates, and so they're working with HR right now to complete everything. Once they have cleared everything, I'll be able to come to the advisory board to share out who our new team members are. Summer Go is here. Trip registration starts April 1st. It runs from April 1st to the 15th, and the lottery is on the 16th. So that registration period is open for a couple weeks. I'll make sure everybody has one. If you'd like one, it's also available online, but if you would like a physical copy, we'll get you one on the way out today. Cinco de Mayo booth, we talked about that a little bit. So we already have a booth scheduled, reserved. So I'll be sending out, just like we have in the years past, for returning board members, new board members, I'll send an email, and it'll show different time slots available to pair with the staff members. So we'll have staff members signing up for each of those time slots, and then we'd like just to pair with an advisory board member based off of your availability, if you are available.
What is the date of that?
Send it out, it's the 3rd, right? Did they just send that out?
May 3rd?
Is
Like,
that
where's
correct?
Martha?
Yeah, I know, she just walked away. I think we just got an email, is it May 3rd?
Not sure. Hang on.
Yep, May 3rd.
Good.
10:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. So, yep, and that just came out 30 minutes ago. So,
That'll be downtown, right?
It'll be
Main Street.
Roosevelt.
it'll be right here,
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt Park right here. So keep an eye on that. Just want to put that on your radar, May 3rd, and I'll send out that sign-up sheet. On,
What time is it?
oh man,
10:30 is it?
6.
Yeah.
I need to double check
10:30 to
this.
6.
Yes.
And I need to check one date real fast. Is it the 8th?
What is it?
SETC celebration. SETC, or is it that the 9th? Okay. May 9th is a celebration for SETC's 25 years of exceptional service. It'll be at the Innovation Center right next to, well, kind of across the street from the Longmont Rec Center from 3:30 to 5:30. And so I will be sending out a formal invitation here shortly, so keep an eye on your email for that. But want to put that date and time, again, May 9th, 3:30 to 5:30 on your radar to attend, if your schedules allow. So again, just celebrating SETC's 25 years of service to our community. We have one of our volunteers, SETC volunteers on our board, and just the work that they do is incredible. Their numbers each month and annually are staggering and continue to increase every year. Right? We're bringing in new people in our community who need that support, navigating a device, helping access information on the computer, whatever it be, just learning about technology as a whole. So we just really want to, it's going to be a very special day to just celebrate all those years of service. So again, let me just put that on your radar. And that's all I have. If there's any questions. Yes.
Ronnie, would it be possible to put the food resources in the Go magazine?
Food resources.
Yeah, the food that's available in Longmont for seniors.
So we want to be careful with that. And what I mean by that is we want to, out of the Go specifically, advertise the services that we provide. Because when we start advertising for other organizations,
you know, it opens that door, right?
Yeah.
Well, how come you allow this one and not this one, or why are you allowing these ones and you're telling me, you know?
Fine line.
Right. So we just want to be very careful on that. And what we do here at the senior center, though, is we have 3 different boards. We have a volunteer board down the hallway. We have a volunteer board. We have a board that advertises for our drop-in programs that are facilitated by volunteers. So it's the same thing, right? How come we can't? Can you advertise for my program in the Go outside of the little blurb, the Go, or use your resources, meaning our bi-weekly email, our social media to advertise those things. And if we say yes to one, then we have to say yes to everybody.
Mhm.
So we have a board for new programs, a board for volunteers options, and then we have a community board out here for anything in between. So, you know, if the library, and we got to be careful with our, again, city organizations or departments too. Library, if they have an event, they would put it over here on this board versus, hey, can you put this in your Go catalog? Can you put it on your front door? And recreation, how can we do that for library, but we don't do it for us? So we're very careful on how we advertise
Okay,
those things.
thank you.
Yeah, long explanation, but I just wanted to share the why. Any other questions?
Okay, we have 3 more reports to go and 4 minutes to do it. So go for it, you guys.
Well,
Area on Aging.
Yeah, you all got the report, so I'm sure you all read it. Any questions?
Okay.
Good.
How
That's
about?
how I'm used to doing reports.
Yeah, exactly. Friends.
Yeah, I can be brief also. Just to give you the highlights of what I understand is going on with Friends. I missed the last meeting, so I'm a little bit behind. But just for your information, Friends has got just about $3 million now. It's down a little bit from the month before. But, I don't know if that includes the withdrawal for the vans or not. But anyway, we're talking about $3 million. The Last Resorts Fund has been allocated $35,500 for this next year, which is something of an increase. I don't know exactly how much, but it's an increase over last year. I think the Friends Board they're not asking center staff to come into the meetings every month anymore to explain last resort expenditures. They're just going to do that quarterly. I think there's some interest in how that money's being spent, and I don't know exactly what's going on there, if anything, but that's kind of what I've noticed. I'll report more on that later. The only remaining thing is I think Linda Fetterman, when she was president of Friends, what I observed was that she spent a lot of time on the financial procedures and policies, and apparently they needed some updating and repair from before, so she spent a lot of time on financial procedures. The new board, I think, and the new president, Karen Roney, is spending more time, I think, on policies, procedures, that sort of thing. In particular, there's one committee that has been established, and I told you about it before. It's a standing not a standing committee, it's an ad hoc committee for planning, for strategic planning, and one of the things that they are planning is a workshop, probably on a weekend, on a Saturday, which would include people from this board. And I don't know at this point whether everybody's included or whether it would be just a few people or what. I'll tell you more when I have more information. But I bring all of that up because I think with the Friends Board right now, there's more emphasis than there was before on planning and where are we going and what groups are we trying to serve and how. And this is a good time to have input into the Friends group.
Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? How about sustainability?
There was no meeting this month on sustainability. It's just quarterly.
Okay. Is there anything else anybody wants to bring up? Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.